Okay, so I am going to demonstrate how to draw from a pose. When you're trying to find your poses for your assignment, you can use a roommate, use a friend. You can try to do this in a public place where you can catch different poses, draw from magazine, pull some images from the internet. So I had a former student that worked at Du Jour magazine as a head stylist of a bunch of these Du Jour magazines laying around the house. So we're going to draw one of the figures from this. First thing you want to do, and we're going to talk about proportion and just mapping out the body again, just like in the first demonstration, is I'm going to look at the head here. So her head is actually sideways. So I'm gonna try to find what I think is the center. I'm also drawing lengthwise just so I can make sure I get my 9 or 10 heads for my figure without it getting cut off. So I'm at the right proportion. So her head is doing something like this. Okay, and then I can see she's got a sharp, her ear were here. We've got a sharp line kind of going down this way. Okay, so let's see. First thing I'm going to do is figure out where my 10 heads are. So if that's one head, let's draw our plumb line in first. So straight line down. If that's one head, so the second head length would be here. Third head length would be here. Fourth, fifth, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We just made it. Okay, so I know that her feet need to land down here. So I'm going to go in, and I know that my shoulder needs to be at 1.5. So 1.5 is about here. And I want to look at breaking everything down into shapes. If I look at this, I want to look at the proportion of this triangle. So from her head, the shoulders are going to do something like this. Okay. And I'm looking at body tilt. So I'm looking at her shoulders kind of tilting this way, so going downward. Her waist is doing pretty much the same thing here, and her waist is right below her, where her elbows are. And then her hip is, I can see this high hip clearly, is tilting down this way. Okay, so I'm going to go in and put shoulders doing that slight tilt here. Waist is going to be at 2.5 or 3.5, sorry. So 1, 2, 3.5 would be waist, which has the same tilt. But if I'm looking, I also see another sort of triangle here for my waist. So I got triangle here for shoulder. I'm going to just mark where her shoulders would be. That's my waist triangle. And then I would have her pelvis here, which would be sort of like that trapezoid shape. So my hip would be at 4.5. So I just want to check my proportion. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4.5 would be here. And I see that high hip there. Okay, and we talked about doing, about finding the S-curve. So the S-curve in this case is rolling around the head and going through the body. This is what gives our figure attitude, and hitting that high hip. So it's kind of going like this, okay? So you need to find the movement and the tilt of the body. And then that S-curve is kind of going down through that leg. So I'm going to just continue it kind of down through that leg, okay? So hip is here, triangle here, and then if I'm looking at her waist, it's going to kind of go like this and back into the crotch here. Knee breaking charcoal is a given. Okay, so I kind of like to do sort of like a parenthesis shape. So one hip will be here, one will be here, and then we close that kind of off. So that's the shape here. And then I can look at sort of like her bust is gonna do that, and then draw in her waistline here. Looking at the legs, so let's lighten this up a little bit. I'm a little crazy with the she's going here. The good thing about charcoal is if you think you missed something, you can kind of go back over it, yeah. Because that's going the wrong way. So hit, parentheses here, parentheses there. And then close off the leg. So then this leg is going out here. And this leg is kind of going straight and then curving out a little bit. So this one's going this way and this way. So then I can, again, draw a triangle for her feet. This one's going this way and then this way. Just drawing the placement of her foot. Her hips got a little wide in there. Okay, so then I'm going to just mark the placement of her arm. It's kind of close to the body and then going out. And I want to look at the proportion between her hand and her thigh. So her hand is about here. This arm a little bit closer to the body. Now, if you have your kneaded eraser, you can go in and erase all these extra lines and smudges later. And so slightly below her natural waist. And then this is kind of going out a little bit. And then this hand in proportion to the other one looks like it's just a little bit higher. I'm going to just draw just a stylized shape, like a claw shape there. So now I'm going to go back in and just kind of flesh out the legs a little bit. So this shape, I don't really know what to call it, but starting from the thigh, I just draw a skinny, I guess, sort of elongated triangle toward the knee. And I'm going to do the same thing here. From this thigh to the knee, I want to double check my placement. This knee does look like it's down a little further. So just want to double check the proportion, make her look so she doesn't look like she's toppling over. I do sort of like a banana leg thing. So going out at the calf, and then it gets skinny at the foot. Same thing here. And then I'm just going to draw a little indication on the outside of the foot here. Just like that. Okay, and let's see. So send her a little shading in there for light emphasis. And I can go in and erase anything, clean it up just with my hand. So now I'm going to go in and try to flesh in a little bit of the arms here. So again, sort of just like a skinnier triangle or elongated rectangle. Her forearm is going to come out a little bit at the top and then taper off into the wrist. Same thing here. This is going to go a little bit wider at the bicep and taper off into the wrist. And then the forearm goes a little wide and again tapers off into the wrist. Okay, it may look a little wiry, but just remember this is just a building block. Something's still not right with this hip here. There we go. That's a little better. She has a kind of low crotch, which is not exactly cute. That's a little better. She's a little long in the torso, but that's fine. I'm going to go in and just kind of erase those guidelines there. I do want to go in and draw her neck and shoulder. This will dip a little bit. And I want to look at negative space. So sometimes it's not about drawing the line. It's about catching the shape that's outside of what you're wanting to draw. And then her shoulder is out just a little far. So I can correct that. Okay, and then, so here's my figure. If I'm feeling fancy and I want to go back in and get rid of my guidelines, and I can go back in and start to like flesh her out. So I can give her a hairdo, this little bun thing. And I want you to start looking at light so you can clearly see that she's well lit. You can see a glare here, strong light here on the inside of her arms, and that'll help you to see shapes too. So I can see a clear sort of light on her head there. She actually has a mesh tank at the top of this fringe dress. I'm going to look at the sort of negative space here at the neckline and draw that in. And then I'm gonna, the fringe kind of wraps around the body. So I'm gonna just draw the placement of the fringe first. So that line is kind of wrapping around the body. And I'm gonna plan where I'm gonna put this fringe before I go in and draw it. This one's doing something like that. And then this is just kind of loosey-goosey at the bottom. So then I can, that's the mesh. So I can go in and just kind of shade that because that's a nude color out to here. Okay, and then this is gonna get the fringe. Okay, and the idea of using the charcoal is just to get you to loosen up, not worry about fine details here. And then here's down a little weird little thing there. So yeah, I keep erasing my hand here. So in class we talked about putting a fixative on. So once you are finished with your drawing, you want to make sure you go in and spray it with the fixative. After you clean it up, you're going to have smudges and everything. That's what your kneaded eraser is for. And then you're going to spray it with the fixative, not too close, maybe about 4 inches away, cover the whole sheet, let it dry. And before you do that, just make sure you sign with your name or initials. And then on your finished poses, you're going to put your date. Just put the date on it. Okay.